Jordan Reed leaned against his locker, meticulously arranging his textbooks into his worn backpack. Lincoln High School's hallways buzzed with excitement as students eagerly discussed the upcoming graduation ceremony. Posters of smiling seniors decorated every available surface, celebrating their final school days. Jordan, however, felt a peculiar blend of anxiety and pride stirring within him. Tonight was supposed to be his moment, a celebration of years of effort, friendships, and personal growth. Yet deep down, he had an uneasy feeling. Jordan zipped up his backpack, adjusting his jacket, a sleek black bomber adorned subtly but proudly with symbols representative of his heritage. Small patches depicting clenched fists, quotes from prominent African-American leaders, and subtle African print linings communicated his identity and values clearly. The jacket was his own quiet protest, a way to assert who he was in a community where acceptance still felt conditional. "Yo, Jordan!" came the cheerful voice of Elijah, his best friend since middle school, pushing his way through the crowded hallway with his typical swagger. Elijah was outgoing, charismatic, and always positive. His carefree demeanor stood in stark contrast to Jordan's introspective nature. "Ready for tonight?" Elijah asked enthusiastically, slapping Jordan playfully on the shoulder. "I heard they've got fireworks after the ceremony. Mom's throwing a massive party afterward, and you're coming. No excuses this time." Jordan chuckled softly, trying to share Elijah's enthusiasm. "Yeah, definitely. Wouldn't miss it," he responded, feeling a surge of affection for his friend's boundless optimism. As they approached the main office, Principal Marianne Summers stood near the entrance, her stern gaze scanning students as they passed. Known for her strict adherence to school rules, Principal Summers was often both respected and feared by students. Jordan nodded politely as he passed her, receiving a curt acknowledgement in return. He felt her eyes linger momentarily on his jacket but thought little of it. Minutes later, as Jordan and Elijah walked out toward the school parking lot, the intercom crackled to life. "Jordan Reed, please report to the principal's office immediately. Jordan Reed." A cold chill ran down Jordan's spine, but he shook off his nerves. "Catch you later," he mumbled to Elijah, who shot him a puzzled but encouraging thumbs up. Entering the principal's office, Jordan found Principal Summers seated stiffly behind her desk, alongside Mr. Ellis, the vice principal. Their solemn expressions instantly unsettled him. "Jordan, please sit," Principal Summers instructed, her voice unusually grave. As Jordan settled into the stiff chair, she leaned forward, clasping her hands tightly. "We have a serious concern regarding your attire." Jordan felt a wave of confusion. "My attire?" he asked, glancing down at his jacket. "I don't understand. What's wrong?" "It has come to our attention, Mr. Ellis interjected, adjusting his glasses nervously, "that certain symbols and patches on your jacket violate the school's dress code for tonight's graduation ceremony. We must maintain neutrality and avoid any controversial expressions." Jordan's heart began to race, disbelief clouding his thoughts. "Controversial? These patches represent my heritage, my history. They're symbols of strength and unity, not controversy." Principal Summers sighed heavily, clearly uncomfortable with the confrontation. "Jordan, this isn't about you personally, but we must uphold certain standards to ensure everyone feels comfortable. Your jacket could be interpreted as provocative or political. We can't allow that tonight." "Provocative?" Jordan echoed, anger now mixing with his shock. "My identity isn't political. I've worn this jacket all year without issue. Why now?" "Graduation is different," Summers replied curtly. "We need you to wear the approved graduation gown without additional attire. Refusal to comply means you won't be allowed to participate in the ceremony." Jordan felt a sinking sensation in his stomach. His head spun as frustration welled up inside him. "I won't erase who I am just to make others comfortable," he responded firmly, struggling to control the tremor in his voice. Principal Summers exchanged a tense glance with Mr. Ellis before replying sternly. "Then I'm sorry, Jordan, but you've left us no choice. You will not be permitted to participate tonight unless you reconsider." Jordan stood abruptly, feeling as though the ground had shifted beneath him. "You're making a mistake," he said quietly, voice thick with emotion. "This isn't right." Walking out into the hallway, Jordan's chest tightened painfully. News traveled fast through Lincoln High, and whispers already chased him down the hall. As he exited the school building, his phone buzzed incessantly. Messages from Elijah, friends, classmates, all seeking answers. Jordan felt humiliated but also strangely defiant. He reached his house in a daze, welcomed by the concerned eyes of his parents. His mother, Tanya Reed, a community organizer known for her fiery passion for social justice, hugged him fiercely. His father, Samuel, a calm yet steadfast supporter, stood close. "They banned me from graduation," Jordan said quietly, voice shaking slightly. "Because of my jacket." His mother's face hardened instantly. "They cannot silence you, Jordan. This is unacceptable." That evening, word spread rapidly across social media, igniting outrage within the local community and beyond. Friends, families, alumni, and strangers expressed their support for Jordan. A hashtag #StandWithJordan, quickly emerged, capturing attention far outside Lincoln High. Yet, despite the surge of online solidarity, Jordan felt isolated. Alone in his room, the significance of this battle settled heavily on his shoulders. He stared at his jacket lying on his bed, symbols now amplified far beyond their intended quiet assertion. Deep inside, Jordan knew he faced a pivotal moment, one that could shape more than just his graduation night. It could redefine his entire community's conversation around race, identity, and equality. He closed his eyes, exhaled deeply, and made a quiet promise to himself. Whatever the outcome, he would stand his ground. This fight had just begun. Jordan awakened early the next morning to the sound of notifications flooding his phone. Blinking sleep from his eyes, he reached for the screen, startled by hundreds of messages and mentions. Overnight, his situation had escalated far beyond the walls of Lincoln High. Posts from friends, supportive tweets from strangers, and even mentions by influential community figures filled his timeline. Elijah had launched an online petition titled "Let Jordan Walk," quickly gathering thousands of signatures. Reading through supportive comments brought an unexpected wave of warmth, though Jordan also felt pressure building like a storm around him. Downstairs, Tanya Reed prepared breakfast in silence, her face set in determined concentration. When Jordan entered the kitchen, she immediately embraced him. "Your father and I are proud of you, Jordan. This isn't just about a jacket anymore, it's about who we are." Jordan nodded, quietly absorbing his mother's strength. Samuel Reed sat at the table, calmly sipping coffee, a reassuring presence. Samuel, though quieter than Tanya, possessed a profound sense of fairness that had always guided Jordan. "Son," Samuel said gently, "you need to be prepared for this. It's bigger than we initially imagined." Jordan understood his father's subtle warning. This battle would likely grow complex and potentially hostile. Still, Jordan knew retreat wasn't an option. After breakfast, Jordan dressed deliberately, choosing his jacket again, defiantly showcasing those controversial symbols. At school, tensions simmered palpably. Whispers rippled through hallways. Curious eyes tracked him everywhere. Elijah met him at the entrance, eyes sparkling defiantly. "Jordan, you're officially a local celebrity. Even Channel 5 called the office asking questions." Jordan managed a weak smile. "Great, just what I wanted, to be famous for controversy." "Hey," Elijah said seriously, grabbing Jordan's arm. "This isn't controversy, it's courage. They need to understand that." During lunch, the atmosphere thickened. Many students openly voiced support, while others cast suspicious or disapproving glances. Jordan heard fragments of conversations, some supportive, others whispered harshly. "Why make everything about race?" a classmate muttered audibly, prompting an uncomfortable silence. Later, the student body president, Sophie Martinez, a fiery activist known for her persuasive speeches, approached Jordan. Sophie rarely spoke without purpose, and Jordan braced himself. "Jordan, we're organizing a rally at City Hall tomorrow," she announced firmly. "We need your voice front and center." Jordan hesitated briefly, overwhelmed by how quickly events had spiraled. But deep down, he recognized the necessity. "I'll be there," he finally said, feeling a mix of pride and anxiety. That evening, the local news featured his story prominently. Principal Summers, interviewed outside Lincoln High, awkwardly defended the school's stance, emphasizing neutrality and tradition. Her words sounded hollow against the emotional wave of community support growing steadily. Jordan watched silently with his parents. Tanya shook her head vehemently. "Neutrality? Tradition? Those are code words, Jordan. This isn't neutrality. This is suppression." Jordan's phone buzzed constantly, messages pouring in from peers inspired by his courage. One particular message stood out. Anonymous, harshly worded threats that warned him to watch his back. Jordan hid this from his parents, determined not to escalate their fears. Unable to sleep, he scrolled through posts tagged, "Stand with Jordan." People from across the country shared their experiences with discrimination, expressing solidarity. Jordan felt humbled, recognizing his issue had tapped into a broader societal struggle. The next day, hundreds gathered at City Hall. Jordan, heart pounding, stood before the crowd. Sophie spoke first, passionately addressing systemic inequalities and demanding justice. The audience applauded vigorously, their unified energy electrifying the air. Then it was Jordan's turn. His hands shook slightly as he stepped up to the microphone. Faces, friends, neighbors, strangers, watched expectantly. Taking a deep breath, Jordan began speaking, his voice steady but filled with genuine emotion. "This isn't just about my jacket or graduation," Jordan declared clearly. "It's about being seen, respected, and acknowledged for who we truly are. I'm not here because I want attention. I'm here because silence is no longer an option." The crowd erupted in cheers, chanting his name. Jordan's words resonated deeply, transforming personal indignation into collective resolve. Yet amid the supportive crowd stood Principal Summers and several board members, sternly observing. Summers looked conflicted, aware her school's reputation hung precariously balanced. Jordan met her gaze briefly, recognizing the complex humanity beneath her stern exterior. Afterward, as people dispersed, a journalist approached Jordan, requesting an exclusive interview. Jordan hesitated, conscious of escalating tensions but understanding the importance of maintaining momentum. He agreed reluctantly. Back home, the news of his rally quickly dominated headlines, expanding the dialogue. Jordan, however, felt increasingly vulnerable, aware of the backlash intensifying in certain circles online. Ugly messages multiplied, blending racism with threats disguised as jokes. His parents, sensing his unease, encouraged him to stay vigilant yet firm. "You have to continue," Tanya insisted passionately. "You're speaking for many who can't." Late that night, Jordan received an unexpected message from an anonymous source. The sender claimed to have information about a past racial incident involving Principal Summers. Skeptical yet intrigued, Jordan hesitated. Revealing such information might drastically shift the conflict, but it risked turning personal attacks into something uglier. Conflicted, Jordan stared into the darkness of his bedroom, considering the implications. This decision wasn't simple. Was this a necessary revelation for justice, or a risky step toward personal attacks that might undermine his message? Jordan closed his eyes, wrestling with the choice he now faced. Each path ahead seemed fraught with moral and ethical dilemmas. He realized deeply, standing up for one's rights involved more than courage. It required integrity, strength, and sacrifice. And Jordan knew clearly, whatever choice he made next would irrevocably shape both his future and the future of his community. Jordan stared at the anonymous message, his phone screen casting a dim glow across his tense features. The mysterious sender's words lingered heavily in his mind. "Principal Summers isn't as neutral as she claims. Ask her about 2007. He felt uneasy, the cryptic message gnawing at his conscience. Yet curiosity and the burden of responsibility compelled him to uncover the truth. Unable to sleep, Jordan began researching, his laptop illuminating the room as he searched through endless archives and local news websites. Initially, nothing substantial appeared, just standard reports about Lincoln High's commendable performance and typical school activities. Frustration started to cloud his concentration until he stumbled upon a small article buried deep within a local news archive from 2007. His pulse quickened as the headline emerged clearly. "Teacher fired after accusations of racial discrimination at Lincoln High." Jordan clicked hastily, skimming through the article. A chill surged through him as he read. Principal Summers, then an assistant principal, had been directly involved in the controversial termination of Mr. Calvin Moore, a well-respected African-American history teacher. Moore had accused the administration of sidelining Black history programs and subtly undermining students who openly embraced cultural symbols. According to the article, Summers had strongly supported the school board's decision to dismiss Moore, citing his disruptive activism. Jordan's chest tightened painfully as he scrolled further. His eyes widened when he discovered a small follow-up article, dated several months later, noting briefly that Calvin Moore had left teaching altogether. The name resonated deeply, as Moore was a figure Jordan had heard of from older community members. A passionate educator, Moore had been beloved by students but quickly forgotten by the public. Jordan's emotions churned. Anger blended with a strange empathy towards someone he had never met, but whose story now mirrored his own. Sleep eluded Jordan that night entirely. Dawn came swiftly, casting its soft, uncertain light over the city. He felt the weight of responsibility settle more profoundly on his shoulders. Should he reveal Principal Summers' past publicly? Doing so could validate his stance but also risk diverting attention into personal vendettas. The ethical boundaries blurred, leaving Jordan uncertain and vulnerable. When he arrived at school, whispers intensified. Rumors about the previous day's rally had spread rapidly. Principal Summers awaited him near the entrance, her posture rigid, her gaze icy. "Jordan, we need to talk," she stated flatly. He hesitated, then nodded silently, following her into the privacy of her office. Summers closed the door with finality, gesturing for him to sit. Her typically commanding demeanor momentarily wavered. Her eyes revealed a flicker of unease. "Jordan," she began cautiously, "your message yesterday resonated deeply with many people. But you must understand, this kind of attention damages Lincoln High's reputation." Jordan met her gaze directly, unwavering. "The damage started with your decision, Principal Summers, not my actions." She visibly stiffened, clasping her hands tensely. "You're young. I know you believe deeply in this, but you haven't experienced the complexities involved here." "Complexities?" Jordan retorted, his voice steady despite the fury building within him. "You mean complexities like what happened in 2007? Summers visibly paled, her lips tightening into a thin line. The room grew unbearably silent as tension crackled palpably between them. Finally she spoke, her voice shaking slightly. "You don't understand what you're stepping into, Jordan. The past. It's not as clear-cut as you think." Jordan leaned forward, driven by newfound confidence. "Then explain it to me. Why did you support firing Mr. Moore?" Summers hesitated, her eyes softening momentarily before returning to their guarded expression. "Moore was problematic. He disrupted the learning environment. He made students uncomfortable." Jordan scoffed bitterly. "Or maybe he made you uncomfortable because he challenged the status quo. Isn't that what this is all about? Protecting comfort at the expense of truth?" Summers shifted uneasily, her voice sharpening again. "Be careful, Jordan. You're treading dangerous ground. Think about your future." "My future?" Jordan replied, his voice filled with quiet defiance. "My future means nothing if it's built on silence and injustice. I won't back down." As Jordan stood to leave, Summers's voice softened unexpectedly. "Jordan, wait. You must understand something. My intentions aren't malicious, but there's more at stake here than you realize. Sometimes compromise is necessary." He paused briefly at the doorway, glancing back over his shoulder. "Compromise? That's how injustice persists. I'm not afraid to face consequences." The rest of the school day passed in a blur. Word of his confrontation with Summers spread quickly, fueling further debate among students. Sophie Martinez rallied support through speeches, turning Jordan's struggle into a rallying cry for broader social change. Elijah maintained steadfast support, fiercely defending Jordan against critics and skeptics who accused him of seeking attention. That evening, Elijah invited Jordan to his house, hoping to offer temporary relief from mounting pressure. Elijah's mother, Evelyn, a respected local attorney deeply involved in civil rights advocacy, greeted Jordan warmly. Over dinner, Evelyn listened attentively as Jordan described his conversation with Summers and the disturbing discovery from 2007. Evelyn considered quietly, then spoke clearly, her voice imbued with authority and wisdom. "Jordan, this isn't just about you anymore. This is a systemic issue at Lincoln High. But be cautious. Using the past can help your cause, but it also risks overshadowing your genuine message with sensationalism." Jordan nodded slowly, absorbing her guidance. Her advice mirrored his inner conflict, clarifying yet complicating his path further. Later, alone with Elijah, Jordan voiced his doubts openly. "I don't want this to become about revenge, Elijah. But how can I ignore what Summers did?" Elijah shrugged thoughtfully. "You can't ignore it. But how you handle this defines everything. Maybe find Moore himself. Let him tell his story." Jordan felt inspired by Elijah's suggestion, realizing its potential strength. He spent the following days discreetly searching for Calvin Moore. Social media searches, archived databases, and community contacts finally provided an address. Saturday morning, nervous but determined, Jordan knocked on the door of a modest suburban home. A man, older but instantly recognizable from photos, opened slowly, warily. Calvin Moore's gaze was sharp yet weary, carrying the burden of past battles. "Mr. Moore," Jordan began hesitantly, "my name's Jordan Reed. I'm from Lincoln High, and I need your help." Moore's eyes narrowed thoughtfully before softening, a glimmer of understanding appearing. "Come inside. I've been expecting someone like you for a long time." Jordan stepped into the house, sensing that crossing this threshold would significantly alter his trajectory. His battle at Lincoln High was rapidly becoming about more than personal rights or symbols. It was about confronting history itself, challenging the silence that allowed injustice to thrive. He knew deeply. Uncovering the truth behind Summers's actions in 2007 wasn't merely about her. It was about dismantling systems of quiet oppression hidden beneath neutrality and tradition. As Moore closed the door behind him, Jordan felt both hopeful and burdened. The next steps would undoubtedly change everything, reshaping not just his own future but the very identity and conscience of his community. Calvin Moore's living room radiated a quiet dignity, walls lined neatly with bookshelves housing countless volumes on history, politics, and philosophy. Old photographs, capturing pivotal moments of Moore's teaching career, stood framed around the room. Jordan sat nervously on the soft, well-worn couch, feeling a mix of reverence and anxiety. Moore took a seat opposite, his movements slow and deliberate, reflecting both caution and curiosity about his unexpected visitor. "So, Jordan Reed from Lincoln High," Moore began, his deep voice resonant with authority tempered by years of contemplation. "Why exactly did you seek me out after all these years?" Jordan took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "Because they're still doing it, silencing people, forcing conformity, punishing expression. Principal Summers banned me from graduation because my jacket has symbols representing my culture. Then I found out about you, about 2007. I figured you might have answers, or advice." Moore's eyes darkened momentarily, memories visibly passing through his mind. "Marianne Summers," he said quietly, as if tasting bitterness. "So she's the principal now. That doesn't surprise me." Jordan leaned forward, feeling his pulse quicken. "They fired you for activism, right? For speaking out against discrimination?" Moore nodded slowly, a weary sadness settling into his expression. "That's partly true. But there's more complexity beneath that simple story, Jordan. People prefer narratives clean-cut. Heroes, villains, good, bad. Life's rarely that straightforward." "Then tell me," Jordan urged, determination stealing his voice. "Please, Mr. Moore, I need to understand what really happened." Moore hesitated, then stood slowly, retrieving a thick folder from a shelf, filled with neatly organized documents. He placed it gently on the table between them, opening it carefully. Inside lay newspaper clippings, handwritten notes, official letters, and photographs documenting his entire ordeal at Lincoln High. "Back then, I taught history passionately, especially African American history. Our real history, not sanitized textbook versions," Moore explained, his tone tinged with lingering passion. "I encourage students to question everything, to be proud of their identities, and to never accept injustice quietly. Administrators, particularly Summers, saw this as disruptive. They believed my approach fostered division rather than unity." Jordan's fists clenched involuntarily. "But unity shouldn't mean erasing people's experiences. That's the argument they're using against me now, Mr. Moore." "Exactly," Moore responded gravely. "Yet many people find comfort in conformity and fear confrontation, even when necessary. Summers wasn't malicious, just fearful of change. But fear can do as much harm as malice." Jordan listened intently, his respect deepening. Moore's insights illuminated aspects Jordan hadn't fully considered, like the human complexities behind institutional injustice. "Why did you leave teaching altogether?" Jordan asked cautiously, sensing deeper hurt beneath Moore's calm surface. Moore sighed, shifting uncomfortably. "They painted me as a radical troublemaker. After Lincoln High, no school district would hire me. My reputation was poisoned. Eventually, I lost faith in a system more committed to quiet stability than justice. So, I left teaching, though it broke my heart." Jordan felt anger well up inside him, mixed with sadness. "They destroyed your career because you told the truth." Moore nodded gently. "Yes, but understand something crucial. If you expose Summers' past, you risk turning your fight into personal vendetta. Is that your goal, Jordan?" Jordan hesitated, conflicted. "No, but how can I ignore injustice when I see it?" "Don't ignore it," Moore replied firmly, eyes burning with intensity. "But don't lose sight of your original purpose. Your goal is justice, equality, not revenge. How you approach this matters profoundly. Your actions can elevate or diminish your cause." Jordan felt the weight of Moore's words. "What do you suggest I do?" Moore paused thoughtfully. "Tell your story. Demand justice clearly, truthfully. Speak about what happened to me if you must, but don't use it solely to attack Summers personally. presented as an example of systemic injustice, a pattern at Lincoln High, not just a singular incident. Jordan nodded slowly, clarity beginning to form. Would you consider speaking publicly again, sharing your own story? Moore hesitated, emotions flickering in his expression. I don't know if I can. Those wounds are deep, Jordan. I understand, Jordan said softly, respect evident in his voice. But your story has power. It's proof this isn't isolated. People need to hear it. Moore stared silently for a long moment, finally offering a faint smile. You remind me why I started teaching, Jordan. Courageous students like you were always my greatest hope. Perhaps it's time to reclaim my voice. Leaving Moore's home that evening, Jordan felt profoundly changed. His own battle felt heavier yet clearer. He now understood the importance of maintaining integrity amid struggle. But fear lingered beneath his newfound resolve. Exposing deeper truths carried enormous responsibility. Over the following days, the community buzzed relentlessly. News spread quickly of Jordan's visit to Moore, fueling speculation and curiosity. Lincoln High became a microcosm of societal division. Students, teachers, parents sharply divided over Jordan's actions. Principal Summers increasingly isolated herself, withdrawing from public engagements, her authority shaken. Privately, she grappled with regrets and anxiety. Her past haunted her. Mistakes made from fear now resurrected as accusations, yet pride and stubbornness prevented any public acknowledgement. Meanwhile, Jordan faced intensified backlash online, threatening messages multiplying. Friends grew worried. Elijah's mother, Evelyn, repeatedly urged caution. Yet Jordan stubbornly persisted, propelled by deep-seated moral obligation. Elijah supported unwaveringly, reminding Jordan constantly of his importance to the broader cause. Finally, Jordan received an unexpected call. A local news outlet requested a live televised debate, Jordan against Principal Summers. The community demanded clarity, and the station recognized significant public interest. Anxiety surged, but Jordan accepted immediately. This confrontation would decisively shape public perception. On debate night, hundreds gathered outside the television studio, chanting slogans, both supportive and critical. Jordan, flanked by Elijah and Sophie Martinez, entered quietly, focused entirely on the task ahead. Principal Summers arrived separately, composed outwardly yet visibly shaken beneath her facade. The debate stage felt charged with tension, lights blinding, cameras rolling. Jordan's heart raced, but determination steadied him. The moderator introduced both sides. Summers spoke first, emphasizing neutrality, tradition, and unity. Her arguments were polished yet hollow, avoiding deeper issues. Jordan watched carefully, sensing cracks beneath her surface confidence. Then Jordan spoke, voice clear yet filled with emotional intensity. He described his personal experience candidly, emphasizing why symbols mattered, not to provoke, but to represent history, identity, pride. Carefully, respectfully, he addressed Moore's story, framing it as evidence of systemic injustice rather than personal attack. Summers visibly flinched, discomfort unmistakable. The moderator shifted focus directly. Principal Summers, did you actively suppress Calvin Moore's teaching of Black history programs in 2007? Summers hesitated visibly, a profound silence gripping the studio. Finally, quietly, she responded. I acted within what I believed necessary for unity. Mistakes may have been made, but intentions matter. Jordan seized the moment, compassion balancing resolve. Intentions do matter, but consequences matter more. Unity built on erasure isn't unity, it's oppression. Acknowledging past wrongs isn't weakness, it's strength. Audience applause erupted spontaneously, briefly overpowering tensions. Summers, visibly moved yet conflicted, offered no further rebuttal, the debate concluding with Jordan's words resonating deeply. That night, Jordan returned home physically and emotionally exhausted yet hopeful. The debate sparked vital conversations, forcing community reflection. Yet he knew the battle remained unfinished. Revealing truth was only the beginning. Achieving lasting change required relentless commitment. As Jordan drifted into uneasy sleep, a new, unexpected message appeared anonymously. Be careful. Not everyone watching supports justice. The warning lingered ominously, reminding him sharply. Fighting injustice was never simple. Every victory drew more challenges, deeper complexities. Yet Jordan embraced this uncertainty firmly, determinedly. In the days following the televised debate, Jordan felt as though he had become the epicenter of an uncontrollable storm. Media outlets relentlessly pursued him for interviews, local leaders weighed in publicly, and social media debates raged nonstop. The tension in the community of Lincoln Heights escalated sharply, exposing deep divisions that had quietly festered beneath the surface for years. Jordan found it increasingly challenging to navigate daily life. School became a place of constant observation, whispers following him through every corridor, curious and critical eyes monitoring each move. Friends like Elijah and Sophie provided a crucial support network, but even their presence couldn't shield him from the enormous pressures mounting steadily around him. Despite Principal Summers's ambiguous apology during the debate, the administration doubled down, issuing formal statements emphasizing a need to adhere strictly to school rules. Lincoln High officials insisted the controversy was not about race, but about maintaining consistent standards. Jordan knew this rhetoric aimed to undermine his credibility, casting him as a disruptor rather than an advocate for meaningful change. Amid this turmoil, Jordan continued receiving anonymous threats, increasingly detailed and menacing. Messages arrived at odd hours, their authors hiding behind fake social media accounts and untraceable email addresses. One chilling note explicitly warned, "If you don't drop this now, there'll be consequences, real ones." Jordan's initial defiance began mixing with genuine fear. He hadn't anticipated the deeply personal toll his stand would take. His parents, Tanya and Samuel Reed, became profoundly concerned. Tanya, fierce in public, privately grappled with maternal anxiety, urging Jordan to consider his safety. Samuel, usually calm and measured, visibly strained under the stress, fearing for his son's mental and physical well-being. "Jordan, maybe it's enough now," Samuel gently suggested one evening. "You've made your point. It's okay to step back." But Jordan couldn't. Every supportive message he received from classmates, local activists, and even strangers reinforced his conviction. Retreating now would mean surrendering to intimidation, sending a damaging message to others who dared speak out. He was trapped by the moral imperative he himself had articulated so publicly. One evening, Elijah called Jordan urgently, his usually confident voice tinged with unease. "Jordan, you need to see this," Elijah said, directing him to a new, troubling post spreading rapidly online. Jordan's heart raced as he opened his laptop to see a series of manipulated images portraying him negatively, labeling him as a troublemaker, someone intentionally creating division within their community. The anonymous creators had dredged up minor incidents from his past, distorting innocent moments into evidence of a supposed radical agenda. Reading through the increasingly hostile comments, Jordan felt physically ill. His reputation was being deliberately sabotaged, the careful narrative of his legitimate protest distorted beyond recognition. Hurt and frustration surged through him. Confronting systemic injustice was one thing, but defending himself against outright slander felt like an impossible battle. His phone buzzed incessantly, texts from supportive friends mixed with frantic inquiries from concerned family members. Among them was a message from Sophie Martinez, urging him to remain calm but firm. "Don't react emotionally online. They're trying to provoke you. Stay strong." Jordan knew Sophie was right, yet the injustice stung deeply. After years of carefully building a reputation as a responsible, dedicated student, seeing his character torn apart publicly felt devastatingly unfair. He began to isolate, withdrawing even from Elijah and Sophie, burdened by a deepening sense of despair. Days passed, each feeling heavier than the last. Elijah tried persistently to reconnect, sensing Jordan's withdrawal. Sophie's messages pleaded for him to join planning meetings for upcoming community forums designed to facilitate reconciliation, but Jordan ignored them. For the first time since the conflict began, he genuinely questioned his capacity to endure. Anxiety gnawed persistently, each day more exhausting, each sleepless night a stark reminder of the price he paid for his convictions. One afternoon, after another difficult day at school, Jordan walked home alone, deliberately avoiding crowded routes. Lost in thought, he barely noticed the unfamiliar car parked suspiciously close to his home. Approaching cautiously, Jordan felt an eerie sensation prickling at his neck. Instinctively, he quickened his pace, but footsteps echoed sharply behind him. "Jordan!" a harsh voice called, prompting him to turn abruptly. Two figures stood menacingly nearby, faces obscured by baseball caps and hoodies. Their posture radiated threat, aggression unmistakable. "What do you want?" Jordan demanded firmly, attempting bravado despite his heart pounding fiercely in his chest. "You need to shut your mouth," one of them snarled, stepping closer. Jordan recognized the voice immediately. A student he vaguely knew named Chris Donnelly, known for associating with less tolerant circles at school. "You're causing too many problems." "I'm standing up for what's right," Jordan shot back defiantly, adrenaline momentarily overpowering fear. "If that bothers you, that says more about you than it does about me." Chris moved closer, eyes narrowed dangerously. "This isn't a debate stage, Reed. Actions have consequences. Remember that." Suddenly, Jordan saw Elijah's car speeding around the corner, pulling abruptly beside them, horn blaring loudly. Elijah leapt out, protective rage etched into his expression. "Step away, Chris!" Elijah shouted, moving swiftly between Jordan and the threatening figures. "If you ever touch Jordan, you deal with me." Chris stepped back slightly, clearly calculating risks. "Just watch yourself," he growled finally, retreating toward his friend, their footsteps fading quickly down the street. Jordan stood shaking slightly, Elijah gripping his shoulder firmly, reassuringly. "We report this," Elijah insisted fiercely. "No more silence." Back home, after reluctantly involving his parents, Jordan's situation escalated further. Tanya immediately contacted Evelyn, Elijah's mother and an experienced attorney, who insisted Jordan formally document every threat and incident. Evelyn arranged meetings with local officials, urging immediate action to protect Jordan from further harassment. This latest incident provoked profound community reaction, dividing opinions sharply. Support surged passionately from activists demanding accountability for threats against Jordan, while critics accused him of exaggeration or fabrication to gain sympathy. Principal Summers, visibly shaken by the escalating hostility, publicly condemned harassment, while continuing to resist changing her position on graduation. Meanwhile, Jordan grappled privately with spiraling anxiety, nightmares becoming frequent, sleep elusive. The public face of strength he projected masked internal turmoil threatening to overwhelm him. He doubted his capacity to continue bearing the relentless scrutiny and hostility. One evening, alone in his room, staring blankly at his now iconic jacket lying beside him, Jordan's phone lit up suddenly. Another anonymous message appeared, short yet chillingly specific. "Next time, Elijah won't save you." Cold dread filled Jordan instantly, realizing the magnitude of danger now surrounding him, and by extension, those he loved. He recognized clearly he had reached a critical breaking point. Continuing his fight demanded risking personal safety, perhaps even his life. Yet surrendering meant abandoning everything he stood for, betraying all who supported and believed in him. Overwhelmed, Jordan curled up tightly, emotions swirling chaotically. Outside his window, Lincoln Heights lay quiet under streetlights, unaware of the profound crisis gripping one of its young residents. Each decision before him seemed impossibly heavy, each path fraught with unknown dangers and moral complexities. Closing his eyes, breathing shakily, Jordan knew only one truth remained certain. The coming days would test him far beyond any trial yet faced, challenging the core of his courage, integrity, and humanity. Jordan's days blurred into a surreal mixture of heightened attention and relentless anxiety. Each morning he dragged himself out of bed, weary and wary, knowing the walls of Lincoln High held both supporters and hidden enemies. Despite Elijah's persistent encouragement and Sophie's unwavering resolve, Jordan struggled internally, questioning if his cause justified such intense personal sacrifice. News of Chris Donnelly's threat had spread rapidly through the community, deepening divisions. His story now transcended the simple issue of symbols on clothing. It embodied broader questions of race, identity, and the boundaries of free speech. Lincoln Heights grappled openly with tensions previously kept quiet, forcing uncomfortable discussions into public spaces. As graduation neared, media scrutiny intensified, attracting national attention. Reporters crowded Lincoln High's sidewalks, interviewing students, parents, teachers, and administrators. Jordan found himself reluctantly thrust into a spotlight he neither sought nor welcomed. Even as prominent civil rights activists publicly supported him, malicious counter-narratives continued to emerge, portraying him as an opportunist exploiting racial tension for personal gain. One evening, Tanya Reed arranged a family dinner, hoping to restore some sense of normalcy amidst escalating chaos. The smell of familiar comfort foods filled their small kitchen, briefly providing solace. But conversation inevitably turned serious, voices lowered in concern. "Jordan," Tanya began gently, her usually strong voice hesitant. "Your father and I are deeply proud of you, but we can't ignore what's happening anymore. Your safety has to come first." Samuel nodded solemnly, his typically calm demeanor strained. "Maybe you should reconsider attending graduation at all. It's becoming dangerous. Let the community take it forward from here." Jordan lowered his eyes, guilt tightening his chest. "I know you're worried. I am too. But if I back down now, what message does that send? They'll think intimidation works, that harassment can silence truth." Samuel sighed, placing a reassuring hand on Jordan's shoulder. "We understand that, son. But every hero doesn't have to sacrifice everything. There are other ways to fight." Jordan felt torn, exhausted by the constant balancing of moral duty and personal safety. Later that night, sleepless and restless, he received another anonymous message. This time, startlingly different. "Meet me tomorrow at 4 p.m. in Green Park. I have something important for you." Suspicion mixed with curiosity. Jordan debated internally but ultimately decided to risk it, carefully informing Elijah and Sophie of his plan, ensuring someone knew his whereabouts. Both friends expressed skepticism, but Jordan's determination to uncover truth outweighed caution. The next afternoon, Jordan arrived early at Green Park, scanning the area nervously. Families relaxed nearby, children played, their laughter in odd contrast to his tense anticipation. Precisely at 4, a figure approached, familiar yet unexpected. Jordan recognized Lucas Porter, a senior from Lincoln High known primarily for his reserved, introverted personality. Lucas greeted Jordan cautiously, glancing anxiously around before speaking quietly. "Jordan, I'm sorry for the secrecy. I couldn't risk anyone knowing I spoke to you." "What's going on, Lucas?" Jordan asked carefully, sensing deep distress beneath Lucas's composed exterior. Lucas hesitated, visibly troubled. "I know Chris Donnelly and the others who've threatened you. I used to hang around their group, not because I shared their views, but because I was scared, trying to fit in. I overheard things you need to know." Jordan's pulse quickened. "What kind of things?" Lucas's voice lowered further, urgency increasing. "They're planning something worse, Jordan. They want you silenced. I don't know details, but they're serious. I heard them talking about graduation night." Jordan swallowed hard, dread pooling heavily within him. "Why are you telling me this now?" Lucas exhaled shakily, vulnerability evident. "I realized what silence does. Watching you face threats made me see my cowardice clearly. I want to do what's right. Finally." Jordan felt a mixture of gratitude and renewed fear. "Lucas, will you come forward publicly? Your testimony could help." Lucas recoiled instinctively. "Jordan, I'm terrified. My family doesn't even know about my involvement. If I speak publicly, I risk retaliation too." Jordan nodded gently, understanding the cost clearly. "I won't force you, but consider carefully. Your voice matters. Even anonymous support helps." Lucas promised to consider carefully, disappearing quickly after their tense exchange. Jordan remained sitting on the bench, heart racing, digesting this troubling revelation. The threat was real, immediate, and more dangerous than he had imagined. Yet something else had emerged, a small spark of courage from unexpected quarters. Back home, Jordan revealed Lucas's warning discreetly to Elijah and Sophie. Alarmed, Sophie immediately proposed contacting authorities again, strengthening precautions around graduation. Elijah, fiercely protective, declared adamantly he would ensure Jordan's safety personally. Jordan, however, faced growing doubts, wondering if attending graduation remained a wise decision. The days leading up to graduation stretched painfully, tension palpable throughout Lincoln Heights. Debates intensified, community forums devolving into heated arguments. Activists demanded reforms and accountability from Lincoln High administrators. Opponents continued attacking Jordan's credibility, deepening community fractures. Principal Summers, increasingly isolated and distressed, privately reconsidered her stance. Internal conflicts plagued her deeply. Pride and fear battled against growing regret. Yet publicly, she maintained neutrality stubbornly, unwilling to acknowledge the profound impact of her initial decision openly. One evening, unexpectedly, Jordan received a visit from Calvin Moore. Moore, appearing stronger yet solemn, greeted Jordan warmly, his presence providing immediate reassurance. "Jordan, I watched your debate," Moore began gently. "You spoke powerfully, truthfully, but I see you're carrying immense weight." Jordan sighed heavily, nodding wearily. "I don't know if I can handle much more." Moore regarded him thoughtfully, his voice steady, filled with empathy. "Remember, you didn't choose this battle, it chose you. But your integrity, your courage, your voice, matters more now than ever. No one should face this alone. Let people support you fully." Inspired by Moore's words, Jordan resolved firmly. He would attend graduation, not recklessly, but purposefully. He decided to deliver a statement publicly, not in anger or retaliation, but to emphasize unity and understanding clearly. Yet on the eve of graduation, anxiety reached unbearable levels. Another threatening message appeared. "Graduation night will be unforgettable. You've been warned." Fear surged anew, gnawing sharply at his resolve. Jordan stood alone, staring into the quiet darkness beyond his window, facing a stark, painful crossroads. His decision to attend graduation risked real physical danger, yet avoiding it symbolized defeat, not just personally, but morally, emotionally, and communally. Every path ahead seemed fraught with peril, ethical complexities weighing heavily on his exhausted spirit. He whispered a quiet prayer for clarity, for courage, for guidance through uncertainty. Tomorrow's decision would shape everything: his future, his community's conscience, perhaps even his safety. In the stillness, Jordan felt an unexpected sense of calm settle slowly. He had not sought this confrontation, but retreating was no longer an option. Whatever consequences followed, he would face them openly, driven by deep conviction and quiet dignity. As dawn broke gently over Lincoln Heights, Jordan knew clearly his path was set, his choice irrevocable, consequences unknown yet necessary. He would stand publicly, courageously, no matter the cost. Graduation day dawned bright, a cruel contrast to Jordan's turbulent emotions. Sunlight streamed insistently through his bedroom window, bathing the room in optimistic golden hues that felt incongruous given the storm inside him. Sleep had evaded him entirely, replaced by restless pacing and anxious contemplation. Jordan stood slowly, eyes burning from fatigue, yet a deep resolve anchored his exhausted frame. His parents, already awake, moved quietly around the kitchen, speaking softly, their voices muffled in strained conversations about safety measures. Tanya, ordinarily a pillar of strength, looked shaken, her face lined with worry. Samuel, silently brewing coffee, watched Jordan enter, concern etched deeply across his usually calm demeanor. "Jordan," Tanya began cautiously, "are you still sure about going today? You don't have to prove anything more. Everyone knows your courage." Jordan took a deep breath, steadying himself, meeting her gaze directly. "I know, Mom, but today matters. Not just for me, for everyone who feels silenced. If I back down now, what does that tell them?" Samuel approached gently, placing a reassuring hand on Jordan's shoulder. "Son, bravery doesn't mean sacrificing everything. Your life matters too. Remember that." Jordan nodded, deeply appreciative yet steadfast. "I promise I'll be careful. Elijah and Sophie will stay close, and Evelyn arranged for extra security near the event." As morning advanced, the community buzzed restlessly. Lincoln High's graduation had transformed from a simple annual event into a spectacle, attracting journalists, activists, protesters, and curious spectators. Barricades lined streets near the school's sports stadium, police vehicles stationed visibly, signaling heightened caution. At midday, Elijah arrived, parking his car directly in front of Jordan's house, ready to escort him. Elijah's face appeared calm, but beneath his usually confident exterior lingered subtle tension. "Ready for this?" Elijah asked quietly, offering a firm handshake. Jordan forced a small smile. "As ready as I'll ever be." When they reached Lincoln High, a large crowd had already assembled, their voices a turbulent mixture of cheers, chants, and scattered jeers. Jordan spotted supportive banners emblazoned with his name, slogans championing equality, and signs demanding accountability from school officials. Opposite, smaller clusters voiced opposition, holding placards accusing Jordan of division and disruption. Sophie waited near the entrance, rallying supporters, her energy undiminished despite days of relentless activism. "Jordan!" she called enthusiastically, quickly approaching him, offering a reassuring embrace. "Everyone's here for you. You've inspired more than you realize." Jordan felt warmth despite his nerves. "Thanks, Sophie. It means a lot." As they entered the stadium area, Jordan's heart quickened sharply. Principal Summers stood near the main entrance, looking tense yet composed, guarded by administrative staff. For a moment, their eyes met briefly, silently acknowledging shared burdens of responsibility and conflict. Jordan felt a strange sense of empathy toward her. She was trapped by decisions made from fear rather than malice. Summers stepped forward hesitantly, addressing Jordan softly. "Jordan, I genuinely hope tonight remains peaceful. Your courage is admirable, even if we disagree." Jordan responded quietly, sincerity evident. "Thank you, Principal Summers. Tonight is about unity, even if unity sometimes demands discomfort." Inside the stadium, rows of neatly arranged chairs awaited graduates, families filing in cautiously, subdued chatter filling the air. The stage, decorated traditionally in school colors, suddenly appeared imposing to Jordan, symbolizing the weight of his struggle. Graduates lined up alphabetically, excitement tinged visibly with anxiety. Jordan stood quietly beside Elijah, feeling tension radiating from peers nearby. Conversation ceased abruptly when Jordan approached, replaced by uncertain silence. He sensed both admiration and resentment surrounding him, a stark reminder of the divide his stand had exposed. As the ceremony commenced, familiar routines offered brief normalcy. Speeches from administrators emphasized unity vaguely, carefully avoiding direct mention of recent controversies. Applause felt subdued, anticipation mounting palpably when it came time for students to receive diplomas. Elijah stepped forward confidently when called, applause enthusiastic, punctuated by cheers from his supportive family. Jordan felt genuine happiness for his friend, yet anxiety spiked dramatically, knowing his turn approached imminently. "Jordan Reed," the announcer finally called clearly, voice echoing distinctly, silencing murmurs instantly. A tense hush enveloped the crowd, hundreds watching expectantly. Jordan stepped forward slowly, deliberately wearing his jacket emblazoned defiantly with symbols of pride and heritage beneath his graduation robe. Murmurs rippled softly, tension increasing sharply. Principal Summers hesitated momentarily, visibly conflicted, then slowly approached Jordan, diploma in hand. Her voice shook slightly, yet she addressed him directly, audibly. "Jordan Reed, despite disagreements, you've earned this diploma through hard work and dedication. Congratulations." Jordan accepted gratefully, briefly making direct eye contact, silently acknowledging her gesture of reconciliation. The audience erupted spontaneously into cheers and applause, supportive chants breaking forth, overpowering scattered objections. Jordan, deeply moved, felt relief and validation flooding him momentarily, temporarily easing emotional strain. As Jordan exited the stage, however, Elijah's urgent expression immediately shattered relief. "Jordan, security just reported disturbances outside. Protesters are clashing." Instantly, anxiety surged anew. Chaos erupted quickly as spectators became aware, panic spreading rapidly through the stadium. Shouting intensified, confusion escalating dangerously. Jordan realized sharply the magnitude of risk everyone faced, guilt tightening painfully. Outside, confrontations grew violent, opposing groups facing off aggressively, shouting turning physical. Police intervened rapidly, lights flashing urgently, sirens wailing, attempting control amidst escalating conflict. Jordan watched helplessly, horror gripping him as peaceful intentions unraveled catastrophically. In the chaos, Jordan spotted Chris Donnelly among aggressors, clearly leading confrontation, instigating violence deliberately. Unexpectedly, Lucas Porter appeared nearby, visibly distressed yet determined, courageously confronting Chris openly. Words exchanged briefly turned violent, Chris striking Lucas sharply, sending him collapsing to the ground. Jordan, adrenaline surging fiercely, rushed forward instinctively, Elijah following closely. Police intervened swiftly, restraining Chris forcibly, diffusing immediate threat. Jordan knelt urgently beside Lucas, who, injured yet conscious, met Jordan's eyes gratefully. "I tried," Lucas whispered weakly, remorse evident. "I had to." Jordan felt profound gratitude, recognizing Lucas's genuine bravery despite personal cost. Medical assistance arrived swiftly, aiding Lucas carefully. Jordan remained near, guilt overwhelming him, understanding fully the personal sacrifices others endured supporting his cause. As turmoil slowly subsided, authorities regained tenuous control. Community shock resonated profoundly, forced abruptly to confront consequences of unresolved racial and cultural tensions. Media coverage, immediate and relentless, captured vividly events unfolding tragically on graduation night. Jordan, emotionally devastated, returned home profoundly shaken. The joyous celebration he envisioned transformed dramatically into painful confrontation, sacrifice, and visible community wounds. He grappled deeply with personal responsibility, conflicted profoundly by consequences beyond intention. Late that night, alone in his darkened room, emotionally spent, Jordan received an unexpected message, this time directly from Calvin Moore. "Jordan, tonight's chaos proves clearly why your fight mattered. Change demands discomfort, confrontation, courage. You've inspired many, including me. Don't despair." Jordan read carefully, emotions swirling chaotically yet deeply comforted. Moore's words resonated powerfully, reminding Jordan clearly. Real progress required confronting difficult truths openly, embracing discomfort courageously. Though deeply painful, graduation night clarified sharply what remained ahead: community healing, accountability, dialogue, and relentless pursuit of genuine justice. Jordan resolved firmly. Despite intense personal toll, his commitment to this cause deepened significantly. He had confronted dangerous crossroads openly, courageously facing inevitable consequences, emerging shaken yet determined to continue advocating meaningfully for genuine equality, reconciliation, and community healing. In the days following the chaotic graduation ceremony, Lincoln Heights simmered in profound tension. What had begun as Jordan Reed's quiet protest against racial suppression evolved dramatically into a deeply publicized crisis, exposing harsh fractures within the community. Media coverage intensified dramatically, turning the small suburb into a national symbol of unresolved racial divisions and the complexities inherent in conversations about equality and freedom of expression. Jordan, emotionally and physically drained, spent much of his time at home, struggling to process the overwhelming guilt and confusion he felt. Although he hadn't initiated violence, he nonetheless felt responsible for the traumatic outcomes that had followed his symbolic stance. Images of Lucas Porter, injured and vulnerable, haunted Jordan's mind relentlessly. Sleepless nights dragged painfully into blurred days filled with anxious reflection and deep self-questioning. Lucas, recovering slowly in a nearby hospital from minor injuries sustained during his confrontation with Chris Donnelly, had become a reluctant local hero. His courageous stand against former friends resonated deeply throughout the community, highlighting internal conflicts that previously remained unspoken. Jordan visited Lucas regularly, conversations between them charged with mutual respect and complicated emotional layers. "I'm sorry you got hurt, Lucas," Jordan expressed quietly during one visit, guilt evident in his voice. "I never meant for anyone else to suffer." Lucas smiled weakly, adjusting uncomfortably on the sterile hospital bed. "You didn't make Chris violent, Jordan. You showed everyone a truth some weren't ready to face. If anything, this proves how necessary your fight was." Jordan appreciated Lucas's sincerity, yet lingering doubts persisted sharply. But was it worth all this pain, Lucas? People getting hurt, friendships broken, the community fractured? Lucas considered carefully, eyes thoughtful yet determined. "Pain comes from confronting reality, Jordan. If we never face discomfort, nothing changes. Change always costs something. Maybe this is the painful price we pay." Jordan pondered Lucas's words deeply, sensing truth within their complexity. But reconciling philosophical clarity with emotional turmoil proved challenging. Returning home each day, Jordan grappled repeatedly with the relentless scrutiny from media outlets now deeply invested in the drama unfolding around Lincoln Heights. Online, narratives diverged sharply. Supporters passionately upheld Jordan's courage, characterizing him as a modern civil rights figure challenging oppressive norms. Critics, however, increasingly framed him as a reckless agitator responsible for instigating conflict unnecessarily. Social media became a battlefield, toxic exchanges overshadowing genuine discourse. Principal Summers, deeply shaken by recent events, quietly resigned from Lincoln High, her departure sparking intense local debate. In her resignation letter, shared publicly, Summers acknowledged ambiguously, "Recent events forced reflection on difficult truths. My actions, intended for unity, perhaps inadvertently perpetuated division. My resignation symbolizes accountability." Summers's departure divided public opinion further. Supporters praised her belated acknowledgement, while detractors dismissed it as insufficient, demanding broader structural changes within school administration. Amid these escalating tensions, Jordan's close circle offered steadfast support. Elijah remained fiercely protective, frequently checking Jordan's emotional state, reminding him consistently, "You didn't create hatred, Jordan, you exposed it. That matters deeply." Sophie Martinez, her activist voice more prominent than ever, organized public forums aimed explicitly at healing communal divisions. Sophie repeatedly urged Jordan's participation, understanding clearly his symbolic significance to many. Yet Jordan hesitated, uncertain emotionally, fearing further controversy. One afternoon, Calvin Moore personally visited Jordan, his authoritative presence comforting yet challenging. Sitting quietly on Jordan's porch, overlooking the quiet street, Moore began candidly, "Jordan, how are you truly coping?" Jordan sighed deeply, honesty surging unexpectedly. "I feel overwhelmed, guilty. Every day brings new controversy, blame, attacks. Sometimes I wonder if staying quiet would have been easier." Moore nodded understandingly. "Quiet is easier, but change demands noise, conflict, discomfort. Silence maintains oppression. You chose courageously, though costly. Your exhaustion is justified but temporary." Jordan listened carefully, appreciating Moore's wisdom deeply. "But how do we move forward from here? The community feels fractured beyond repair." Moore paused thoughtfully. "Fractures heal, Jordan. Slowly, painfully, imperfectly. Dialogue is messy, reconciliation challenging. But communities grow stronger precisely through facing conflicts openly. Your role isn't over, it's evolving. Inspired by Moore's counsel, Jordan gradually re-engaged publicly, speaking cautiously yet authentically at Sophie's community forums. His message emphasized reconciliation, unity built on genuine acknowledgement of differences rather than erasure. Audiences responded warmly, Jordan's sincerity resonating meaningfully despite lingering skepticism from critics. Slowly, painfully, Lincoln Heights began confronting its internal wounds through genuine dialogue. Forums frequently exposed raw emotions, anger intermingling openly with grief, confusion, hope. Yet these difficult exchanges gradually rebuilt fragile trust, restoring cautious optimism about communal healing. Meanwhile, authorities formally charged Chris Donnelly with assault, his trial becoming a local spectacle intensifying community debate. The legal proceedings highlighted sharply underlying societal issues surrounding race, privilege, and accountability. Chris's family, publicly defensive yet privately devastated, faced intense community scrutiny, further complicating reconciliation efforts. During the trial, Lucas courageously testified openly, describing emotional turmoil underlying his former associations, acknowledging personal fears driving past silence. Lucas's vulnerability resonated powerfully, revealing humanity beneath simplistic narratives of villains and heroes. Ultimately, Chris received probation alongside mandated community service centered explicitly around racial sensitivity training. Community reaction split predictably. Some applauded rehabilitative approaches emphasizing restorative justice. Others criticized perceived leniency, demanding harsher accountability. Jordan grappled privately with conflicted emotions regarding Chris's sentencing, recognizing clearly justice's complexity. Visiting Lucas afterward, discussing deeply personal reflections on justice, accountability, redemption, Jordan appreciated anew justice's nuanced complexities beyond simplistic punishment. As weeks passed into months, national attention gradually waned, external interest shifting inevitably toward newer controversies elsewhere. Yet Lincoln Heights, deeply scarred yet genuinely changed, continued internal dialogue passionately. Gradually, structural changes emerged clearly within local educational institutions, explicitly addressing biases historically unacknowledged openly. Jordan, emotionally matured profoundly through painful experiences, resolved firmly continuing advocacy meaningfully beyond symbolic gestures. Encouraged strongly by Moore, Elijah, Sophie, Lucas, Jordan, involved himself actively within local civil rights organizations, transforming personal trauma purposefully into sustained activism. One evening, months after graduation's chaos, Jordan addressed a packed community forum at Lincoln High, newly led by progressive administrators emphasizing open discourse. Speaking calmly yet powerfully, Jordan reflected openly. Our community faced painful realities courageously, acknowledging deeply rooted divisions previously ignored. Our task isn't merely restoring superficial harmony. It demands continually confronting difficult truths openly, compassionately. The audience responded spontaneously, applause genuine, emotional, reflecting profound communal transformation, painfully initiated months earlier. Jordan's symbolic protest evolved substantially beyond initial intent, catalyzing lasting structural, cultural, emotional changes within Lincoln Heights. Returning home afterward, Jordan felt genuine peace profoundly, recognizing clearly personal sacrifice's profound significance. His journey, painful yet deeply meaningful, clarified sharply core personal values: integrity, courage, compassion, relentless advocacy meaningfully shaping communal futures. Though challenges inevitably persisted ahead, Jordan embraced complexities courageously, understanding deeply personal responsibility never ceased. Yet now, bolstered firmly by community healing, supportive friendships, wise mentorship, Jordan felt genuinely prepared confronting uncertainties openly, courageously. In quiet solitude afterward, reflecting thoughtfully beneath starlit skies, Jordan whispered softly into stillness, gratitude profoundly genuine for difficult journeys deeply transformative personally, communally, morally. Though struggles inevitably continued, tonight clarity emerged powerfully, shaping purposeful advocacy courageously forward. Months drifted by, turning heated summer days into the reflective chill of autumn, cloaking Lincoln Heights in hues of amber and gold. Yet even as nature embraced peaceful transformation, the community's internal metamorphosis continued to unfold in fits and starts, filled with passionate discourse, earnest attempts at reconciliation, and persistent challenges. Jordan Reed, now graduated and pursuing studies at a local university, became increasingly involved with activist groups committed to racial justice and community reform. Though his initial spotlight had dimmed nationally, within Lincoln Heights his influence grew deeper, quieter, more profound. Jordan was learning how genuine change, he now understood clearly, arose from consistent dedication rather than brief spectacle. Each day began early, balancing college courses with community meetings, organizing forums, workshops, and mentorship programs. Jordan collaborated closely with Calvin Moore, who had returned actively to local education, leveraging his experience to advise younger activists. Their relationship deepened profoundly, moving beyond simple mentorship into a mutual, respectful partnership. One afternoon, after concluding an emotionally charged workshop on racial reconciliation at Lincoln High, Jordan sat quietly with Calvin in a nearly empty classroom. Sunlight filtered gently through closed blinds, casting soft, reflective shadows across worn desks and faded inspirational posters, a quiet testament to the countless students who had passed through these halls. "You've changed, Jordan," Calvin observed thoughtfully, breaking comfortable silence. "You've grown wiser, more thoughtful. Your passion has tempered into genuine maturity." Jordan smiled softly, reflecting deeply. "I've learned so much, Calvin. At first, I thought just being right was enough. But now, I see clearly it's how we handle truth that shapes real change. That's your lesson, and it took me a while to understand." Calvin nodded approvingly. "Real leaders aren't defined by initial bravery, Jordan. It's how you sustain courage, humility, and openness over time, especially after the excitement fades." Their conversation paused gently, comfortable silence again settling warmly between them. Jordan felt gratitude deeply for Calvin's mentorship, community support, even painful lessons learned through earlier crises. But challenges, he understood well, were far from finished. Even amid progress, lingering resistance persisted quietly in Lincoln Heights, occasionally surfacing sharply. Community meetings sometimes dissolved into heated confrontations, unresolved bitterness stubbornly remaining beneath attempts at dialogue. Chris Donnelly, though completing mandated community service diligently, remained visibly resentful publicly, embodying unresolved anger from segments resisting Lincoln Heights' evolving identity. Privately, Jordan still struggled intermittently with memories from graduation night. The chaotic violence, Lucas's injuries, painful community divisions exposed vividly. Occasionally, anxiety resurfaced sharply, reminders vividly haunting quiet moments. Yet emotional resilience deepened gradually through purposeful activism, supportive friendships, personal introspection. Lucas Porter, now fully recovered physically, became increasingly active alongside Jordan, courageously sharing openly his past mistakes and subsequent personal transformation. Lucas's testimony resonated profoundly within Lincoln Heights, inspiring meaningful self-reflection among those previously reluctant confronting internal biases. Their evolving friendship symbolized powerful reconciliation, highlighting clearly how acknowledging personal failings openly facilitated genuine community healing. Lucas's journey, from fearful silence toward courageous accountability, mirrored broader communal shifts necessary for true reconciliation. One crisp autumn evening, Jordan received an unexpected phone call from Principal Summers, now simply Mary Ann, retired yet actively involved within community reconciliation efforts privately. Her voice, once commanding sharply, sounded softer, humbled noticeably by recent experiences. "Jordan," Mary Ann began hesitantly, sincerity evident, "I want to meet privately. I owe you a genuine apology, not just words, but honest acknowledgement." Surprised yet cautiously hopeful, Jordan agreed willingly, understanding clearly the symbolic significance this conversation represented. Meeting quietly later that week in a small local cafe, their initial interactions felt awkward, guarded slightly by past tensions. Yet Mary Ann's vulnerability became immediately evident, barriers quickly dissolving into genuine openness. "I'm deeply sorry, Jordan," Mary Ann began candidly, voice wavering slightly with genuine emotion. "My decisions, based on fear and misunderstanding, hurt you profoundly. More importantly, my actions upheld deeper systemic biases I didn't fully recognize at first." Jordan listened quietly, appreciating profoundly Mary Ann's courage, acknowledging past mistakes openly. "Your acknowledgement matters, Mary Ann," Jordan responded gently, genuinely compassionate. "Recognizing harm done openly allows genuine healing. You stepping forward publicly would resonate powerfully." Mary Ann nodded thoughtfully, clearly considering implications carefully. "Perhaps I should. Community reconciliation requires honesty, even from uncomfortable places. You've taught me that, Jordan." Leaving afterward, Jordan felt profound peace deeply, understanding clearly reconciliation's complex nature, requiring genuine vulnerability, courage, honesty from all sides involved. His initial protest against symbolic suppression had transformed substantially, evolving profoundly into broader communal conversations about genuine equality, justice, healing. Gradually, public discourse within Lincoln Heights shifted meaningfully, acknowledging openly past mistakes, historical biases previously unspoken. Local educational curricula integrated explicitly inclusive historical perspectives. Educators actively encouraged confronting difficult truths openly, compassionately. Yet beneath surface optimism, Jordan recognized realistically genuine reconciliation remained ongoing work, continually demanding difficult self-examination, humility, courage from entire community persistently. One weekend afternoon, months later, Jordan attended Lincoln High's official unveiling ceremony for a new historical exhibit explicitly addressing racial justice, prominently featuring Calvin Moore's legacy, Lucas Porter's courageous accountability, and Jordan's own symbolic stand. Community attendance overflowed visibly, emotional reflections filling the air palpably. Calvin spoke briefly yet powerfully, emphasizing reconciliation's necessity, acknowledging painful historical realities openly, urging continual dialogue courageously forward. Lucas followed courageously, vulnerable testimony emotionally resonating deeply, exemplifying clearly transformative power authentic self-reflection provided. Finally, Jordan stepped forward calmly, voice steady yet emotionally charged genuinely. Our community's journey has revealed clearly reconciliation's complexities, acknowledging difficult truths openly, confronting painful pasts courageously, continually embracing discomfort toward meaningful change genuinely. My journey taught deeply symbolic gestures alone remain insufficient. Real progress demands consistent courage, vulnerability, humility persistently. Audience applause erupted spontaneously, emotionally resonating profoundly community-wide, symbolizing deep communal transformation visibly underway significantly. Afterward, quietly observing interactions among community members diverse previously divided sharply, Jordan felt profound optimism genuinely. Though reconciliation's path remained challenging inevitably, genuine community transformation appeared meaningfully possible, facilitated powerfully through authentic dialogue, vulnerable openness, collective courage continually confronting difficult truths persistently. Returning home afterward, reflecting privately beneath tranquil autumn skies quietly, Jordan understood deeply personal journey's broader significance genuinely. Symbolic protest initially had sparked powerful communal introspection profoundly, exposing harsh divisions previously ignored openly, ultimately facilitating meaningful reconciliation authentically. Though struggles inevitably continued forward, Jordan embraced courageously his community's ongoing transformation meaningfully, personally resolved sustaining commitment persistently toward genuine justice, compassionate reconciliation, courageous authenticity continually forward. 2 years passed swiftly since the turbulent events surrounding Jordan Reed's graduation from Lincoln High. Time had carried forward both scars and healing, creating a narrative deeply embedded into Lincoln Heights' identity. Jordan, now firmly established in college, continued his activism, steadily building bridges where division had once seemed permanent. His life was reshaped profoundly, driven by a purpose discovered through personal trials, public struggles, and quiet victories. Lincoln Heights itself was transformed, emerging from the shadows of controversy into a symbol of hope, resilience, and communal growth. The community now regularly hosted workshops, dialogues, and cultural events, openly addressing issues once buried beneath uneasy silence. Jordan remained active in these discussions, guiding younger generations and mentoring new activists. Calvin Moore, fully reinstated as an influential educational advisor within local schools, had become one of the community's most respected voices. Moore and Jordan's partnership flourished, symbolizing intergenerational unity and collective commitment to change. Their collaborative projects, such as a community library dedicated to diverse narratives, earned recognition and praise, solidifying their shared legacy of activism and reconciliation. Lucas Porter also became deeply involved, working closely with community youth, courageously sharing his experiences to inspire open dialogue about internal biases, peer pressure, and personal transformation. Lucas's openness resonated powerfully, bridging divides that had long separated Lincoln Heights youth. Jordan, Lucas, and Elijah remained inseparable friends, their bond deepened immeasurably by shared experiences. Elijah pursued journalism, determined to provide honest, nuanced narratives spotlighting underrepresented voices. Sophie Martinez continued as a passionate advocate, now serving as a respected community organizer. Their friendships exemplified resilience, unity, and enduring commitment to social justice. Meanwhile, Marianne Summers's public apology had sparked significant reforms within Lincoln High's administrative policies. Now under progressive leadership, the school openly incorporated inclusive curricula, actively promoted student activism, and consistently addressed systemic biases. Summers, embracing retirement yet remaining involved privately, often volunteered in community workshops, quietly supporting efforts toward reconciliation. Chris Donnelly, having completed mandated community service and intensive racial sensitivity training, gradually became a cautious but consistent advocate for restorative justice. Though his path remained challenging and marked by persistent skepticism from some community members, Chris's genuine remorse and evolving efforts toward self-awareness demonstrated profound possibilities for personal redemption. Jordan observed Chris's transformation cautiously yet hopefully, understanding deeply reconciliation's potential complexity and acknowledging personal accountability's critical importance in genuine community healing. One evening, Lincoln Heights held a large commemorative gathering, marking exactly 2 years since the graduation incident, to reflect openly on their communal journey. The event drew large crowds, uniting community members diverse in age, background, perspective. Speakers shared testimonies openly, highlighting emotional struggles, transformative experiences, personal insights gained through confronting difficult truths. Calvin Moore addressed attendees first, reflecting emotionally. 2 years ago, this community faced intense conflict openly. Many believed permanent division inevitable. Yet through courageously confronting painful truths, we began genuine reconciliation. Our progress, though imperfect, demonstrates real hope clearly, showing powerfully community's potential healing authentically. Lucas Porter followed bravely, candidly sharing personal insights gained through painful confrontations with past behaviors. Facing my internal biases openly was incredibly difficult, yet acknowledging those truths publicly allowed genuine healing, not just personally, but communally. My journey illustrates deeply transformative power. Honest self-reflection provides clearly. Finally, Jordan Reed stepped forward calmly, voice steady yet genuinely emotional. 2 years ago, I believed symbolic gestures alone could ignite meaningful change, but real transformation required far more: courage, vulnerability, patience, persistent dialogue. Our community's reconciliation journey illustrates powerfully real change's complexity genuinely, revealing vividly reconciliation's necessity, continually confronting uncomfortable truths openly. Applause erupted spontaneously, emotional resonance, clearly palpable community-wide, symbolizing profound communal transformation visibly underway significantly. Following speeches, community members engaged actively in smaller, intimate discussions, openly exploring personal experiences, insights, challenges faced during reconciliation efforts. Conversations highlighted deeply community members' profound emotional growth, highlighting courage, vulnerability, openness as essential reconciliation elements genuinely. Later, privately reflecting quietly beneath peaceful evening skies, Jordan contemplated thoughtfully his personal journey's broader significance genuinely. Initially driven simply by personal conviction and symbolic protest, his experiences revealed vividly reconciliation's deeper complexities, nuances, profound transformative potential authentically. Suddenly, Calvin Moore approached quietly, interrupting Jordan's contemplative solitude gently. Moore smiled warmly, acknowledging Jordan's thoughtful silence knowingly. "You've come a long way, Jordan. Your initial courage transformed powerfully into sustained dedication genuinely." Jordan smiled appreciatively, nodding thoughtfully. "I never imagined my simple protest evolving profoundly into meaningful communal transformation significantly. But now, understanding clearly reconciliation's complexities genuinely, I see clearly why sustained commitment matters deeply." Moore nodded approvingly. "Reconciliation remains ongoing, Jordan, never fully complete, always demanding persistent courage, humility, vulnerability. Yet community growth occurs precisely through continuously confronting difficult truths authentically. Your legacy exemplifies vividly how symbolic gestures transform substantially into powerful, sustained advocacy genuinely." Jordan embraced Moore warmly, deep gratitude clearly evident. Turning quietly toward community members engaged actively in meaningful conversations nearby, Jordan understood deeply reconciliation's profound significance genuinely, revealing vividly community's transformative potential authentically, continually, demanding courageously sustained commitment persistently forward. In subsequent months, Jordan's advocacy expanded significantly, attracting broader regional and national recognition explicitly. Invitations to speak publicly, contribute actively to policymaking initiatives, collaborate meaningfully with renowned civil rights organizations became increasingly frequent. Jordan remained firmly rooted within Lincoln Heights actively, balancing broader advocacy with ongoing local commitment continually. One day, unexpectedly, Jordan received prestigious recognition. A nationally renowned civil rights foundation awarded Jordan explicitly for courageous advocacy promoting racial justice openly, highlighting vividly his community's transformative journey authentically. Receiving prestigious recognition publicly, Jordan addressed audiences genuinely emotionally. Though deeply honored personally, real recognition belongs explicitly to my community, demonstrating courage, humility, openness, continually confronting difficult truths authentically. Lincoln Heights' transformative journey vividly illustrates reconciliation's genuine complexity profoundly, revealing powerfully real healing's possibility meaningfully. Jordan's speech resonated significantly, highlighting genuinely communities' transformative potential explicitly, elevating Lincoln Heights symbolically nationwide as an inspiring example authentically demonstrating genuine communal reconciliation powerfully. Returning home afterward quietly, reflecting privately beneath peaceful evening skies, Jordan understood deeply his journey's profound significance genuinely, initially sparked simply by personal conviction. Symbolically, his activism evolved powerfully into sustained dedication toward meaningful communal transformation explicitly, revealing vividly reconciliation's genuine complexity profoundly. Jordan resolved privately, firmly committed, continually advocating courageously toward genuine reconciliation explicitly, understanding deeply sustained dedication's critical importance genuinely toward ongoing communal healing meaningfully. Quietly beneath tranquil evening skies, Jordan whispered softly into peaceful stillness genuinely, deep gratitude profoundly evident explicitly for transformative experiences, vividly shaping purposeful advocacy significantly forward. This journey revealed powerfully reconciliation's complexities genuinely, requiring persistent courage, humility, vulnerability continually. My legacy remains sustained advocacy authentically toward genuine communal healing meaningfully forward. Jordan's quiet reflections resonated genuinely profoundly, symbolizing powerfully reconciliation's transformative potential vividly illustrated, authentically within Lincoln Heights continually forward.